Hey guys and gals, this is your host Joe. Thank you for coming by Life with Josef. I got a couple story times here to make. I went through some pictures on my tablet and I thought, it's been a couple of weeks that I need to get to it. So we're going to get to the first one here. I'm going to put a picture here of the GM plant in Fremont. You see 880 is 2 lanes wide. The GM plant went to, it closed, and then they opened up with a joint partnership with a Toyota. That was the Numi plant. And now Teslas are made there. So, but that's not why we're talking about this. Right here on the freeway, Caltrans used to have marked miles, measured miles with signs, odometer checks. Now, this is back in the day when your odometer was not nearly as precise as they are now. So this was important if, you time yourself through the marked mile or whatever, and, you have an idea of how off your speedometer is. Now, this is important, and this is the gist of the story. I went to Laney College for a year in Oakland for their food service program after I left the convent. I lived on Oriole up right off of 580 by ETS and Highland. So, and now Laney is right off of 880. So I would ride 580 and then cut down by Highland, and I would make my way to school. So I get up one morning and I'm riding to school, and I ride down 580 and I ride down by Highland. I think it's 14th Avenue. And I get to the stoplight with East 12th and 14th Ave. And now Oakland PD has used Harleys since time immemorial. Since probably since about the founding of the motor company. So I hear the Harley, and this is back in the early 80s where, Harleys weren't nearly as popular as they have been in the last maybe, 15 or 20 years, long before the rich urban bikers came. So you know who it is. So I'm at the light. I'm on my CX 500. Little Mazda, like a 626 type, pulls up beside me. The light turns green. Now, I pull off faster because I'm lower geared, but I know the speed limit's 35. Now, this Mazda just roars right on past me, and then I hear the Harley open up. You can't miss it even now. And the OPD motor unit goes right past me, pulls over the Mazda. Then he stands out in my lane. It's like 3 lanes wide, and flags me down. And I point at myself and say, me? And he's nodding his head. Well, he cites me for speeding. 37 in a 30. Now, I know the speed limit's 35. Now, you don't win on the side of the road. I told him that the speed limit was what it was. He didn't want to hear it. So, okay, I'm going to take this one to court, which I do. Now, I'm going to put in the side here that I'm 2-0 in court. So I'll tell that story maybe later or in a different clip. But I take him to court. And the short story is, I ask him, how fast was I going? Okay, 37 miles an hour. And I said, under the basic speed law in California, is 1 or 2 miles an hour over, can 1 or 2 miles an hour over the speed limit be considered a safe speed under the basic speed law? And he says yes. And that's when I spring on him, basically, well, you wrote me up for 37, the speed limit's 35, and you just testified that 1 or 2 miles an hour is over the speed limit is not a violation of the basic speed law. And he's backpedaling, no, the speed limit's 30. I pull up my photographs, and this is how long ago it was. I pull up my photographs, I hand it to the bailiff, he hands it to the judge, and it's 35, and the officer just got caught flat-footed. Now, that's not all. We're going to talk about the marked mile. Now, I asked the officer about his bike, his motor unit. It's a Harley. I asked him how many miles he says, 25 or so. I say, so you've had your front tire replaced, yes? And he says, yes. I said, can you verify that the aspect ratio of your replacement tire is the exact same size and aspect ratio of the stock tire of your Harley-Davidson police special that came from the factory? And if it's not, do you have verification that your certified speedometer was adjusted to the aspect ratio of your new tire? And he looked at me like a deer in the headlights. Now, you may be asking yourself, gee, Joe, what's an aspect ratio of a tire and why is that important? An aspect ratio is the ratio of the width of the tread and the height of the sidewall. If you alter that, it alters your speedometer reading. Now remember, I don't have to prove myself not guilty. I just have to cast enough reasonable doubt. Remember that. Reasonable doubt. So I hammered him about the aspect ratio. And I basically said, so you don't know the aspect ratio of your front tire, you don't know the aspect ratio of the stock tire, and you have provided us no evidence that your allegedly certified speedometer has actually been certified to the front tire you now had on the day that you pulled me over and cited me. Is this correct? And by God, he just knew, holy shit, I'm fucked. And basically the judge, said, well, I'm going to drive by the, where this took place, and I'll send you my ruling in the mail. Because they rarely find you not guilty right then. They send it to you in the mail. Jesus, I had to pip this in here. I forgot the most important part about the marked mile. The judge asked me how I was so confident that I knew I was going 37 miles an hour. And that's when I was able to lay on him. Well, Your Honor, I knew I had changed the front tire of my motorcycle, my Honda CX-500, more than once. I know I don't have the same aspect ratio because I went to a bigger tire, and I know I was going 37 in a 35 because I timed myself in the marked mile on 880 at the GM plant 3 or 4 times with a stopwatch, and I was able to determine that my speedometer reads about 3 miles an hour fast because I changed the aspect ratio, and I am extrapolating based on my field testing that my speedometer reads about 2 or 3 miles an hour faster. So my testimony that I was in fact going 37 miles an hour because my speedometer read 40, and I'm extrapolating again from field test experience that my speedometer reads about 3 miles an hour fast. I forgot that, and that's the whole gist about the marked mile. So I'm going to kind of roughly add that in here. So it just so happens I'm riding down the elevator with this guy. Now, for me, it's just business. I've got no animosity towards this guy. Besides, he's riding the bike, and, I've got a million questions about being a motor unit in Oakland. And he admits, he says, Mr. Joe, I think you're right. It is. And I said, officer, it is. And you'll see this. And he said, I have never had anybody ask me about the aspect ratio of a tire. He said, I am never going to get caught unprepared like this again. So I got him on the aspect ratio. And we got down to the bikes, and I had wrecked my CX. I had to get off way up Highway 4 in Alpine County. And so I was riding my brother's Yamaha Seika 550, which was a really cool little bike. And he even said, that wasn't the bike you had when I pulled you over. And I had to explain, no, dude, I had to get off, and we chit-chatted, and we went on our way. So I'm going to tell you, aspect ratio got me out of a ticket. This is 8 minutes of babble. Thank you for watching another Story Time with Joe. This is your host, as always, Joe on Life with Josef. Enjoy your day. Peace be with you. And we'll see you for the next one.